Hey there, and welcome back to day 22 of my 100-day challenge. I am going to be posting over the next 100 days different tips and tricks for people to be able to scale their businesses. So, hey, my name is Dayana, and I actually help women founders to be able to scale their businesses efficiently and effectively through building high-performing teams and automating their systems and processes. So let's get into it. So like I said, today we're going to be talking about building trust. Building trust is the secret weapon to building a high-performing team. And if you want a successful business, I can guarantee you are going to need to have a high-performing team. That's going to be a non-negotiable. So when building a high-performing team and having that trust is going to help to increase the performance and the accountability of the team. You want people to say, hey, I know Dayana, trust me with this project. I'm going to do everything that I can to take the initiative and bring it from start to finish. So if people know that you trust them, they're going to automatically be more solution oriented. And I cannot tell you how many times I've come across a founder who says that they wish their team would be more solution oriented. But as the founder, you have to look inward. Are you producing the type of environment and the type of culture for your team to feel safe to actually take that initiative? Because if they feel like that if they do the wrong thing, or if they try to be a little bit more innovative and they may not make the right choice, then they will be less likely to do those things without you. And that's then going to have someone to have to ask you every little thing. Okay, is it okay if I do this? Is it okay if I do that? And you want the business to be able to scale. You want the business to be able to scale without you, and for you to scale out of it to where you can sit on the board or whatever that might look like. Whatever your goal is, you want to be able to get to that point so that your business does not have to function with you in the day to day. And so you want your team to be solution oriented and to be able to come to you, not with a problem, but they might say, hey, we have this concern, but these are some of the solutions that we have. What are your thoughts on this? It's a lot easier for you as the founder to be able to work from a kind of not a blank slate, but having certain options versus you having to come up with all the options. It's going to help to increase how you are able to impact the company and do more revenue generating activities when your team knows that you trust them and that you can rely on your team ultimately, okay? And so then we're going to get into solving problems faster. Like I said before, they will solve problems 10 times faster if they know that you trust them, because they will know that they can make the necessary decisions that's going to be ultimately best for the company, best for the team, and best for the overall objective of whatever project that is that they're working on. It also, when there's low amounts of trust, 76%, according to the Harvard Business Review, 76% of teams that have low trust experience higher stress and less morale. You do not want that to be your team, because that is going to dramatically slow down the efficiency and effectiveness of whatever the project is. It's going to just overall slow the company down. And so you want people to have a great morale. Morale is naturally going to help to boost the overall team culture and will help everyone to also trust one another. When you have that trust and morale normally work hand in hand. And so if you don't have one, but you have the other, you need to figure out how you can get trust to be equal to morale and morale to be equal to trust. So that way everything works together cohesively, okay? There are a few silent killers to trust and building trust within your team. So I would say the 3 silent killers to building trust is going to be inconsistency, lack of transparency, and micromanaging. So let's talk a little bit about inconsistency. Inconsistency means that you say one thing, but then you do something completely different. Or you tell them, hey, I want us to run this initiative for this reason. And then the next day you tell them to completely scrap it because you don't want to do it anymore. It's a terrible idea, etc. Unfortunately, that is the reality for some companies. I've worked for companies that were like that before, and it was very, very stressful. And that's something that I said, whenever I own my own business, I will make sure that I do not do that to my team members, because that is extremely demoralizing to the team and makes it very difficult for them to put all of their effort into whatever it is that you're asking them to do for a project when they feel like it's probably just going to get scrapped the next day or within the next week, and it's most likely not going to get to completion. So then people start to doubt you, which then builds distrust within the team, and you don't want to have that lack of cohesiveness. So even if even if you feel like you as the leader is consistent, you want to make sure that your leaders within the organization, as well as the team members, everyone in your organization should know that you all thrive over being consistent and following through on your word. Like my parents always said, your word is your bond. And so if you don't have your word, you literally don't have anything for anyone to be able to hold you accountable to. So try your best to make sure that consistency is very well ingrained into your company culture. Rather, it's you as the founder that is carrying that out, and that should also trickle down within the rest of the organization, because remember, it always starts at the top, okay? So also going into lack of transparency, that goes into being inconsistent as well. So maybe you don't want to deter your team from the overall objective. Maybe you all are working on a huge project that is going to take about 6 months. Well, then 3 months into the 6-month project, you realize this isn't going to work for XYZ reasons, but you hold off and you don't tell anyone until the 5th month at like the 11th hour. And you're like, hey, this actually isn't going to work. We're going to need to scrap it, but I need this still done within the next month. That is also a lack of transparency, because you knew something that you decided not to tell them. Even if it's something that is the hard truth, or having difficult conversations, it's still important to be able to deliver that information in a way that is going to be consistent with your company core values, and to also be able to give the team members and the organization as a whole direction for where you all are going. And so just because it might be a difficult conversation, just because you might not have your words perfectly down, or you don't have the right thing to say, like maybe you're going into a tough company meeting and you're having to deliver some negative news that numbers are not looking very good. That's something that's very important for you to say from the get-go, because then people, if they are not doing everything they can be doing, which they should be because you're showing them that you trust them, but if for whatever reason they're not, they can kick it into high gear and to be able to put every single ounce into it. And if they know that numbers are not looking great, it's going to give them a heads up for if layoffs are to happen or if cutbacks are to happen in certain departments. That's going to help them to know where the company is at, where they're going, and how you all can work together to get there, okay? Lack of transparency can also be within the organization. It does not have to be from the leadership down. It can also be within just peer-to-peer communication. Maybe they are not saying everything that needs to be said. So say if someone's not holding up their end of the job and are kind of slacking, that needs to be a conversation that is had, and that is okay for colleagues to have with one another, especially if they're within the same department and they feel like that one person's having to pick up the other person's slack. That's okay to have. So have that transparent conversation. It might not always be the easiest, but I guarantee you it will definitely be worth it in the long run. So that way one person is not getting burnt out and overwhelmed and things like that when there's two people to be able to do a job. Okay. And then going to micromanaging. No one likes to be micromanaged. Absolutely nobody. I have not met not one person that has said, yes, I want to be micromanaged. I love it. That's how I thrive. That's just normally not what happens. Okay. And so you want to let people know that you trust them. Let people know that they're accountable for the work that they put out and for the results that they deliver. When you micromanage, it makes it very difficult for someone to feel like that they are accountable and can take complete ownership over the task at hand. So when you are wanting to do this, let them know that you trust them with this. Don't hover over them, because you want to give them the time and the space to do what it is that is necessary. So instead of you saying, hey, I want to do a quick check-in, say, how can I support you? And rewording it in a way that is more positive and uplifting versus, hey, I'm checking in to see what it is that you're doing right now. I always say, whenever I use the word check-ins, I mean like having like a one-on-one meeting. Those are what I mean by having check-ins. But because I know I've mentioned that in my previous videos, but what I want is for you all to be supportive of your team and for everyone within the organization to also have that supportive mentality. So that way, whenever other team members are saying, hey, I just want to check on the status of this, like, hey, how's this coming along? I just want to figure out how I can support you better. And that'll also still give you the answers that you need, but it's just being conveyed in a completely different manner that is more uplifting and encouraging versus demoralizing and like, hey, I don't think that you are able to carry out this task very well. So it's all about wording and positioning, okay? Now that we've talked about the 3 silent killers, now I want to go into how we can build trust, because rebuilding that trust is sometimes a difficult task to do. And it's important for us to process how we can do that the best way, because sometimes trust can be broken. Trust is easily to be broken and difficult to be regained. So you want to be very intentional with exactly how you're trying to rebuild that trust with the team or within amongst colleagues, whatever that might look like, okay? So being predictable. You want to be predictable, but in the best way. I had a person that I used to work with, and they would be predictable, but in the worst way. I would know like, okay, something's going to change tomorrow, something's going to change next week, whatever it was. But be predictable to where people know that anytime you enter the room, oh, it's going to be a very supportive and an uplifting conversation. It might still be a tough conversation, but you're going to do it with tact and grace, and you're going to hold things together well and deliver the information that is necessary. Being predictable in the best way is also about being transparent. You can be transparent while still being truthful and encouraging and speaking life into the person. So make sure that you are being predictable to your team, to the overall organization in the best way possible that you can. And then going into empowering over hovering. I used to hate when people hover over me, and I still do even to this day. Thankfully, I don't have to have people hovering over me, but in my previous role with people micromanaging, I was being hovered over, and it was so difficult to get anything done because I just felt like someone was constantly breathing down my neck. No one likes that. So instead of hovering over someone or asking them for check-ins every single 5 minutes via Slack, ask them or tell them that you trust them with this project. Tell them to come to you whenever they need something. You all will still have your regular meetings to be able to see the status updates of things, but you are letting them know that they are in control. They have authority to make the decisions that are necessary to take the company and take the project to the next level, and just let them do their thing. Things are going to mess up. People are not perfect. That is just how the world works. And so it's okay if someone messes up, but just make sure that you're being more empowering to them and even encouraging when they do mess up. Some mess ups and some mistakes are too large to recover from, but if it's not, then just continue to be encouraging to them and say, hey, mistakes happen. This is what we can do better next time. Let's make sure this doesn't happen again and move forward. But the lack of trust that you have within your team is not going to empower them, nor make them solution oriented, nor make them want to even work harder. They're probably going to end up slacking off because they feel like that they can't get anything done and they know that they're not trusted anyways. So someone's going to swoop in and ask them how things are going and tell them what to do instead. So make sure you're being empowering, okay? And then last but certainly not least, communicate early and often. When communication is lacking within an organization, that is a huge red flag to an infrastructural issue, and you want to be able to create a fix for that as quickly as possible, okay? So communicating early means when you realize that there is a problem, tell someone. When you realize that a project that you thought was going to work out well, or an initiative that you all were working on is not going to work out well, or you all need to pivot, tell them as soon as you find out and as soon as you've had time to digest that information. So communicating early, but then also often. So when things are changing, let them know, hey, I don't know if I feel really good about this right now. I'm still trying to process it to make sure this is what we need to be doing. But I just want you all to be in the loop on where I'm at. If we do pivot, this is where we're going to pivot to. So letting them know the direction and letting them know how things are moving right now. What is the status? What is the pulse on things? Because sometimes it's hard for us to give a pulse on something when us as the leader don't exactly know. But at least if we tell our team, hey, we're either going to go in this direction or this direction, they can prepare accordingly and they will know and not feel nearly as overwhelmed, nearly as blindsided as if when you come back and you say, hey, we're actually going to go in this direction to the right, they're going to be like, okay, sounds good. Thanks for telling us and letting us know ahead of time. Those types of things are going to help to build the trust within your organization. And trust is the secret weapon to building a high-performing team, which I know if you're watching this video and have watched this far, you are wanting to build a high-performing team. And so I encourage you, if this was helpful, to subscribe to my channel, join my community. It's called Built to Scale. And so we have weekly calls. I upload tons and tons and tons of resources, videos, how-tos, all of the things to be able to help you to be able to scale your business efficiently and effectively. So thanks so much for joining, and I will see you all tomorrow.